Welcome to the 2040 Vision, hosted by Helena and Jason, where fresh perspective meets hard-earned wisdom, because growth is clear when you see it from both sides.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm here as usual with my current co-host.
Let's talk about that.
We will talk about that. That is a wild thing that we discovered. But before we talk about that, let's explain what we've decided to do. So if you're tuning in from the last episode that we did, which was on the financial stuff, I think we spent the entire hour, 30 minutes, just literally talking about budgeting and the little nuances of budgeting. We were going to also jump into discussion topics of debt and investing and stuff like that. We didn't have time to get to it. And towards the end of that episode, we said we were going to do potentially like a part 2. But I think what we've decided is for the debt and the investing, it's probably a good idea to wait till we can get a guest on. And we'll get a guest to talk about those topics. So part 2 will come, but we'll do it at a later time. Likely towards the end of the lineup that we have already planned out, when we start taking on guests and them talking about that. I think that'll be probably a better idea, right?
Yeah, no, just to have somebody a little bit more educated and can bring in points that we didn't even think about or that we don't know about, be really interesting.
Yep, and I think it's as we always say, we're a Canadian podcast, so I think making sure that what we're saying is from a Canadian perspective, because a lot of what's out there, especially in the like influencer world, and a lot of the knowledge we're gaining as far as like all these financial things and debt things and all that, often do come from America, from the US. So we want to be 100% sure that if we're going to start giving any kind of raw, like clear data, it's actually going to be useful for Canadians versus the American side of things. But obviously the help is really for everybody. It's just more if they're going to talk about what kind of investing, we want that to be a little bit more Canadian centric and Canadian focused. So that being said, we're going to turn to today's subject.
So to tie in from last episode, we'll be talking about side hustles and passion projects, turning ideas into manifestations into reality.
You're big on that, eh? The manifestations. Yeah. So I said my current co-host, and for the portion of listeners that are on the TikTok world, you may or may not have realized that there's a new trend going around. And that trend is it's either husbands. I've mostly seen partner, but I've mostly seen one partner. Yeah, so it's one partner setting up the other partner with some sort of scene where they're going to talk about something kind of like we do here. And they'll start the conversation with, as I did. So I'm here with my current wife or my current husband or my current partner,
and then you see their reaction like, current, what do you
and the word current is obviously like there's a connotation there, which is like,
you're not my first, you're not my only,
you're not my first, you're not my only, you're not my last. that might be a little bit more of it. It's like, oh, current, okay, current. So why is that funny to us?
It's because if you have heard, I think it was 2 episodes back or maybe 3, when Jason was talking about his wife, he accidentally said my current wife, and none of us caught it until she was actually listening to our podcast, and she's like, did you just say current wife? And it became a whole big, like a whole funny thing. So even now, as a joke, after that I kept saying, when I wanted to refer to his wife, I was like, well, your current wife, like haha, jokes. Then few weeks, like fast forward few weeks on TikTok, everyone's doing this, my current boyfriend, my current girlfriend, my current, wife, whatever. And Jason sent it to me. He's like, wait, is this an actual trend right now?
I ate a lot of grief for a few weeks after that current. I said the word current. So what I think what was going on in my head was because I if you listen to it, I was referring to her in the time that she was my girlfriend. So I said current, but what I meant was my now wife. because at the time of the story I was saying, we were not married. But what came out was current, and I've now started a trend, and I'm an influencer. I love that for me. I'm an influencer now. So there it is. We wanted to just put that out there so that everybody knew this podcast is the core, is the start, is the seed of that
That trend.
of that trend. So that's it. All right, side hustles, passion projects. This one's I mean, you and I obviously we're doing this, right? So we
know plenty about side hustle. Look at us.
experts.
We've made it so big.
We didn't say successful ones. We said side hustles and stuff. If I don't know if she turns, no, it won't. You see some of them over here. But there's a new side. I got a new side hustle like semi annually. Yeah, so there you go. That's it. So she turns. There's some things back here. So we'll talk about that. But there's a new side hustle like semi annually for me. I don't shy away from jumping into things, and we'll talk about it. But failure and all that stuff. You can't be afraid of those things. When it comes to that, if you're leading off the budget conversation, it's perfect. If you're in a mode where you're in budget mode, you're trying to pay down debt, you're trying to pay off cars faster, you're trying to pay off houses faster, whatever it is your goal that you're trying to accomplish financially, you're trying to retire faster. It's very hard to achieve those things nowadays, especially with inflation and cost of living and all of that good stuff. It's harder and harder and harder to achieve that. So more and more and more people are turning to a side hustle. And when we say a side hustle, we mean a income generating side hustle versus like there's something like a hobby or a passion project. This I would consider more of a hobby or a passion project for now.
More of a hobby, but eventually a side hustle.
Yeah, for now. I mean, I think we started this with the goal of being able to talk together to learn more about each other. And
yes, it wasn't. Initially, it wasn't for income like that. This is, and even now, even currently, it's not for income. It really is just to kind of have all of our ideas come out and make it an actual physical thing rather than just a thought, or kind of just to get out there and be like, am I the only one going through this? I can't be the only one going through this. And maybe changing some people's lives, like maybe changing some people's ideas or making them feel less alone. And so that really is the goal. It wasn't really for income. It was really just a hobby.
It's like the creative outlet to our entrepreneurship, our idea generation. We're very much an idea generating mill. We're always talking about new ideas. Before we even started recording this, we were talking, Len was saying, and she'll talk about it, she was saying she's got a new idea for that. And then we started getting into it right away because it's just like, it's always just so exciting. So that's passion project. And when we say side hustle, you're talking about being able to take something, scale it, be profit driven, and all of that thing. And both are extremely important processes to becoming more successful in your growth journey. It's good to have that creative outlet. It's good to have passion projects. It's good to do all of that when you're not thinking money wise. And then it's also good to maybe evolve some of those into side hustles and stuff. So we'll start talking about it now. We both have full-time jobs. So how do you balance now all these passion projects, these side hustles? How are you finding the balance of getting all these done with also keeping your full-time job going and all of that?
So I used to have more side hustles than I do now. Like for example, I used to, before when I was going to school, I always had 2 jobs, but that doesn't really consider side hustle, because side hustle, the key ingredient for a side hustle is low amount of time put into it, more amount of money coming in, right? It's something that you want to do on your pastime that doesn't take too much time, but it is more of like an income driven hobby or passion, right? So for example, when I started work, I couldn't have a second job. I could only have side hustles because my full-time job takes all of my time, but also because I know no amount of side hustle is going to get me the income that I have now, until eventually maybe I do find one that makes me more or the same amount, right? So when I started working, I started actually selling shoes. So I would go online, raffles on Adidas, on JJ Jones, on all these things, try to win shoes. And when I would win the shoes, I would sell them for a lot more than retail price. So let's say, for example, I think the highest amount, like the shoes that I sold for the most, they were JJ Jones New Balances. I bought them at something like $330 and I sold them for $1,080 on StockX. So you have to kind of do your research. You have to, see what's going to hit big, what's going to, do all these things. So on Adidas, when the Jordans were in style, I was also trying to get the raffle, win the raffles for those, get them at retail price, and then sell them for reselling price. So let's say I would buy them at $120. I would try to sell them for $200-$300 just to get like a quick transform, get some money. But that became harder because the more you would enter raffles, the more you'd be losing, because all these robots they have a lot of bots now online where they put in all their information super quick, and then you would lose out on the opportunity. So I kind of stopped doing that, just because I realized I'd be there. The drop is at 12. I'm already there at 12, or I'm already there at 12:01, and I'm not getting anything. So I'm like, you know what, forget it. So I turned to, I always had that idea of, okay, I can grab something and then flip it and then sell it for more, right? So when the whole trend of Sunny Angel dolls came out, I was like, what are these dolls? I don't understand why everyone's going so crazy over them. I get it. They're cute. They're whatever. Fine. But so same around time, I was going to Japan, and my friend Gabriella, she goes, oh, can you please bring me back some Sunny Angel dolls? Only if you find, I know they're super rare to find here. Like, just bring me one back. If you can, I'll pay you back, blah, 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 whatever. So when I was searching, I couldn't find them, but I was looking in the wrong places. And then I like Googled like one of the stores, and they had all kinds of Sunny Angel dolls. And I was only going to go and buy one just for her and then leave. But when we were there, I remember, it was a boys trip kind of. I was only with boys on this trip. It was just me, the girl. So I was standing in front of the Sunny Angel dolls, and the guys, they scattered. They went to go see their other stuff that they were interested in. And I see these girls and they're grabbing, but then I see these two older men and they're grabbing and putting in a bag, like grabbing like handfuls and putting them in a bag and going to the cash. I was like, okay, something's up here. They're doing something. These grown men can't be into these little Sunny Angel dolls. They're literally naked dolls, like with little animals or fruits on their head, So George comes next to me at this point. I like tap on him and I'm like, you see what's going on here? And he's looking at them and he's freaking out. So he taps on one of the girls that are looking at them. He goes, can I ask you a question? Why does everyone go crazy over these? And they were clearly not from Japan. So they said, oh, well, in the United States and in Canada, they're selling for $30-$40 each because they're so rare to find. But here they're selling them for, conversion to Canadian, $13 each. So we start grabbing. I'm like, I'm going to resell these at home for sure. So I think I brought home 15, which now I regret. I wish I brought more. I really wish I brought more. So I got Gabriella hers. I got another 15 of them. I opened 3, and also George was like, please open them. Like, I'm really curious to know what the hype is about. So I opened 3 of them. We got our fix, I guess. So I sold the open ones because the whole point of the Sunny Angel dolls is that you don't know what you're getting. So it's like the little mystery toy box that kind of brings in all the popularity as well, right? So the open ones that have no sort of like mystery to them, I sold for $20 each, which already I'm at a $7 profit. And then the closed ones I sold for $40 each. and they went quick, and that's why I wish I had bought more, like a whole box or even two, because that alone was just insane. So the Sunny Angel dolls is actually what paid off my New York trip when I went to New York.
That's beauty. So that's like just like you were kind of just using, and that's why I said when we were with like passion projects and stuff, like we're an idea generating mill. We see something, we're kind of like, maybe we should go towards that. Like we don't shy away from doing something, and sometimes those will fail. We hear a lot about the stories in the world of like, oh, all those side hustles that were extremely profitable.
Actually,
some will fail.
They even have the Labubus now. They're called Labubus. They're like also these ugly dolls. If you ask me, they're ugly, whatever. But the Labubus are just as big as the Sunny Angel dolls, and they're super rare as well. So people are selling them for more. So I tried to do the same thing. I wasn't successful. So I kind of was like, forget it.
And they're like mostly available in Asia as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's funny that like, and that's what it is. It's like trends. Will they stick? Will they not stick? That's the danger of obviously doing it on things that are trendy, collectible, anything like that. You're talking about packs. That's like the Pokemon card scheme, but in a figurine style, where or before Pokemon cards was sports cards, obviously, and things like that, where the manufacturer will say, hey, we're putting one or two huge cards in the entire set, and there's 6,000 boxes that were sold, and it's the Willy Wonka and the golden ticket style thing where everybody's buying those boxes and they're trying to hit on that one special card that'll be worth, 2, 3, 4, 500,000. So that's almost like it's a side hustle but it's also playing a little bit of a gamble when it comes to anything collectible and stuff like that. But for you, if you're going to do that, like while you're doing it anyway, so your time management of that kind of a side hustle, not really a thing. We talked about in the last episode, you were going to start doing like potentially looking at doing some cooking stuff. I saw that you've been sending us stuff that you've been cooking, which looks delicious, by the way.
Actually,
Thanks for not bringing me any. But yeah, so like, things like that, I'm sure you have to kind of plan your day out a little bit more and be a little bit more purposeful about it.
Yeah, so I did no bake cheesecake espresso martinis. So I went to my best friend had her birthday theme. It was espresso martini, a teeny bit older. So I made espresso martini. They look like espresso martinis, no bake cheesecake. And I actually had a few people message me asking me, send me the recipe, please. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. They're like, we were freaking out, like it's so pretty.
And I'll talk about my side of things, but everything is falling with you. But what we just spoke about something before this, and I want you to introduce it. But we spoke about something before this. People asking you for the recipe. What could you do as a side hustle to turn that into kind of like a thing?
Exactly. So then what I wanted to do was, because I don't think I'm kind of educated or trained properly enough to do like a little catering thing, which
experienced.
That's the word. So what I wanted to do to kind of, instead of doing the cooking thing, what I wanted to do, what I've been looking up, what I've been planning to do, which is a very, very new idea, literally started Monday. We are Thursday. So is digital product selling. So I would be selling, let's say, recipe books, or I'd be selling coloring books, or even planners, budgeting spreadsheets.
Yeah, that we talked about on the last episode. Yep.
Yeah. So I'd be kind of creating all of these planners, all of these little recipe, cookbooks and whatnot, and I can eventually be selling these
digital assets selling, and those are they're an evergreen. Well, for the most part, they're an evergreen product. So basically, they're not necessarily seasonal or fall in and out or have to be updated a lot. Very, very, very low cost to entry. Obviously, the big one is the amount of competition that could be potentially out there for digital asset stuff. Like if you just go into an Etsy or a Fiverr or things like that, where you're looking for a budgeting template. Well, I can promise you, there's 6,000 minimum budgeting templates out there. So you got to make sure that yours stands out different to the other. But that's a great style of side hustle with a low cost, if nothing, like a no cost entry, where you can kind of get your feet wet and be like, oh, what is it like to like offer up this kind of thing? How do I price myself? And sometimes it's not even about the success of it. It's about the process and learning from the process. And we talked about this in many episodes, and it kind of comes like the reoccurring theme comes back, and it's just the steps, doing the steps, making that become a habit. And if that one thing you didn't do worked, or the one business you tried doesn't, or side hustle you tried doesn't work out for you, that doesn't mean that you didn't learn anything and you got zero from it. It just means that, okay, now you can put all of that learning to use, tumble that into the next potential project, and keep going from there. We have learned monumental amounts of things as we do this. We video editing, neither one of us really had an idea. We went on YouTube, we did all kinds of stuff. And if one day the podcast like stops and doesn't work, or whatever it is, you can turn that into a YouTube channel for maybe one of the side hustles we have. And now I know a lot more about video editing and stuff. So it's never time lost. It's always time well spent, almost like a training ground for your next potential thing.
Actually, that's a very good point, because when we started doing the podcast, part of me, obviously you're always going to get your positive thoughts on things that you first try, but then you're also going to, fear sets in and you're going to think a little bit negatively, like, oh, what if people hate it? What if people think this is stupid, But that's exactly how I viewed it. I said, you know what? If it goes nowhere, at least I got training. At least now, I'm a little bit more comfortable with the microphone. I'm a little more comfortable with the videoing. I'm more comfortable working with somebody. I'm more comfortable in editing everything. Or now I can kind of tell how to start. There's a beginning now. Okay, I need a software of this, of that. And then you can research it online and see what else you need for whatever new idea you have. And then, you start, you create.
Yeah. And so for my side of this and balancing and stuff like that, I obviously have the added extra structure of the family unit. I do my full-time job, and I try and, like, my one tip for everybody out there is I try and involve them in all of my crazy plans and ideas and all that. And luckily enough, they're willing to, like, jump on board and go along. We'll talk about this really, really quick, but basically I actually wanted to start teaching the kids about business and running a business and what it is. So I was like, how could I easily show them what it is to start a business? And I turned around and I made an Instagram. This is over the last month. We made an Instagram account. If you want to follow us, it's called the Pepper Patch Finds. My last name's Pepper. As a family unit, we always refer to ourselves as the Pepper Patch. So Pepper Patch Finds, and we basically go to yard sales, buy little things, and flip them for profit. So there's a very low-ish barrier to enter. You don't have to buy things worth hundreds of dollars. We were buying things at the last yard sale. Everything was $1 each. So we spent, I think, $30 in a weekend. Yes, you had to invest that $30. But most of the time, if you take a look online as you're shopping, and you can use eBay and all of these apps, you can use Google Photo, the Google Lens or whatever, you can take a picture of the thing right before you buy it, and something will spit back how much that thing could potentially be worth. And it's a very low chance you're taking that you won't make any money. And then you can go and you can post it on eBay. We created an eBay store. I post on Facebook Marketplace. And we've started to sell some stuff. There's stuff that is gone. So we're almost even on the money, and there's lots of product left. We'll be making a profit on that, no problem. And the kids are involved. They come with us. They go through the yard sale. Every once in a while, we buy them a little toy or a little thing. But then when we get back home, I show them. You'll see that this is here. I emptied this square. I don't know. Yeah, in the other videos, there's going to be something in here. Now this square is empty, and I'm using it kind of like as a shadow box, as a product placement box. I put all the products in there. I turn the light on and I take photos like that, and the kids help me. And then we post it online together, and I show them, hey, look, we paid $2 for this, and we're gonna post it online for $30, and hopefully 10 times our money. So it started as a way to kind of show them something, and it's kind of like snowballing a little bit. Now it's a very slow process. We have to plan our weekends where we have things planned. That doesn't take a priority. We still do birthday parties and all of that stuff. But I try and keep like Saturday morning. We're up anyway. As a family, we're up at like 6:30, 7 in the morning. We kind of go out for a drive and go around and stop at yard sales and make the purchases. So my suggestion to you with the balancing is make sure that, especially if you have a family unit and all that, make sure you are involving everybody in the process and not just doing it for you. It's got to be talked about with your partners, with your family members, and making sure that like it kind of works for everybody. I do the same thing with this podcast. I check in, I make sure that on our calendar, we agree on a date we're going to record. Sometimes that has to shift. But I'm always involving the family and being like, hey, by the way, Elena's coming over this week, or Elena's, is that okay with everybody? Can we do it this day? Today we talk about managing schedules and side hustling. I'm on my lunch break at work, and we're using that to record the podcast. Now, we knew that going into this. Len was on vacation last week, so there was less time to actually get together and record this. And then we had a massive car trouble, which I won't get into, but over the weekend, we kind of had to shift gears. My car's dead. We had to start shopping for a new one, so we had to kind of push the recording of this. We're doing it at lunch. So you got to make concessions. You got to make a few sacrifices. I can promise you that this video is coming out tomorrow, which means that tonight at midnight, I'm still editing the video and making sure that it's ready to go and everything is posted. That's the concession you have to make. You do have to, give up a little bit of sleep and a little sweat equity to make it happen. And my obvious, like, big tip is don't spend a lot of money when you're starting these things. And I've mentioned it before in how we started this. My one thing to her was, we're not spending a dime to start this project. We don't have identical mics. We didn't use, these are like, this mic is expensive, but I had it already. I spent this in the past. So to start this project, we spent $0. The only thing we've put into it is our time, blood, sweat, and tears.
And actually, that brings me to my friends at work. So my friends at work and I, or 3 in total, we wanted to start our own podcast. That one would be less of a structural thing and more of whatever comes out that day. Like more of like a gossipy kind of a podcast, and so my friend Gabriella, that I mentioned before, she came in to work because she was on vacation same time as me. So we worked together on Monday, and she goes, listen, I'm refreshed. I'm ready to start the podcast. I'm ready to start our YouTube channel, like whatever it takes. Like, I'm ready. I'm like, I want a side hustle. And I told her, I'm like, that stuff is great. I'm happy you're like, let's go. I'm eager. But when talking about a side hustle, I would much rather start something that I know for a fact is going to bring in, right? So I shared her the idea of even her and I taking a nail course and doing nails on the side. I'm like, because then when you get customers, you're getting paid, this kinds of stuff. And she goes, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I'm like, the podcast, we can definitely start it, but it would be more of a hobby thing, because it's not like it's not a certain that it's going to get big, right?
It's far from a certain. These things, we like I said, we planned 26 episodes for this podcast. We will do 26 episodes for this podcast, and we'll go from there and see how it evolves and it grows. I don't look at the metrics. I don't know if you do. I try not to look at the metrics. I don't know the metrics.
I've only looked on YouTube, but I haven't looked at anywhere else really.
Because it's going to be small. It's going to be discouraging to look at. But again, it wasn't necessarily the primary point. So when you start these things, don't expect a get-rich-quick scheme. If anybody is presenting you something with you're going to make money real quick. Oh, well, let me double your money. Oh, this, that, and the other thing. Question it very, very quickly. There's no such thing as a get rich quick.
Especially with these kinds of things. And if you pay attention, anyone that does like a YouTube or does anything social media or a podcast, you'll notice they'll say, oh, well, I've been doing this podcast for 3 years before it blew up. I've been doing YouTube for 6 years before it blew up. So everything takes consistency. You're going to hit a very popular point at some point in time, but it might take years. If it's something you really truly want to do, you're going to do it consistently, and then you might see
Massive
results exactly out of it.
But I tell you where we're going to see results is personally through us. Those results can already be seen. Like there's leaps and bounds that have been taken when it comes to that. So again, you got to stay motivated. You got to make sure that it's a passion project. You got to make sure that whatever you're going into is something that you enjoy as a side hustle. And decide off the bat, are you doing this as a hobby, or are you going to be doing it for income, for extra income? Are you ready to actually do that for your extra income? We have a base salary that we make. So for us, we're not relying on it. It's not like do or die. I have to get this business off the ground. This has to start selling $30,000-$40,000 a month in product. No, that's not what this is. If you're starting a business, that might be another episode. This is like a side hustle. What can you do to do there? You have to be established in your own actual job, career, whatever, and then start these things a little bit more slowly. Do some research, figure out what the value of what you're going to be offering could potentially be, if there's going to be a need for that on the market or whatever. If it's a product, is there people asking for it? If it's a service, and all of those things. So make sure that you're ready to do that. And some things that we do consider, like we were just talking about it yesterday with the wife, with this thing is, there's also, is there any kind of tax implications and all that? Don't forget, this becomes, even though it's a side hustle, it's an income generating entity. Obviously, if it's only generating a certain amount in Canada, you're good, you're okay. You don't have to charge taxes and stuff, and you don't necessarily have to start a whole business if it's generating a small amount of stuff. But make sure that whatever you're doing is kosher along those lines, and that you're not getting yourself or whoever's doing it with you in any kind of potential financial or legal troubles with that. There's a cool little quote here, and I think it's super important. Is are you running to your dream, or are you running from your job?
I like that one.
I figured you would. I like that quote. And it's so pertinent to like everything about growth, because as you go through this growth journey, as we do, I'm sure, we've talked about some of our displeasures of our current jobs and careers sometimes. And, that's a thing, is like, are we jumping into this to try and run away from what we have as a career income? Or are we doing this because we have greater purpose and greater things? So ask yourself that. I mean, it's important. It's important to know what you're doing. If you're running from a job, be careful.
No, yeah, exactly. But it reminds me also of when they say, instead of how can I afford my dreams, right, in my head, instead of saying, oh, I can't afford it, let me steer clear, let me steer away, let me go lower. It's instead of saying I can't afford it, say, how am I going to afford it? What steps am I going to take to be able to afford it?
Yeah. It's all about how you approach it. It's all about the questions you ask. It's all about good preparation. It's all about your motivation, and all of that. And then benefits. Once you've done all of that, what are the potential benefits of having these multiple streams of income, having extra money in the coming in? Consider what you want those benefits to be and work back as well. That might help you with the building of a side hustle. And we just went through the ones that we are kind of doing ourselves and kind of going into with the resale and stuff. I mean, we can name a whole bunch of stuff that's popular right now. Go out and mow some lawns. If you want to put some money into things, vending machine businesses. Those are quite quite good businesses with good long-standing models that are, a very low risk of failure, because if the vending machine doesn't work in one place, well, you can pick it up and you can move it to another one and try it in a different one. So the cost and investment in the vending machine is there, and if it fails, it fails, but you can always move it location. It's not like, oh, I'm going to open a restaurant, I can't just move that restaurant location if it fails. It's not exactly that easy. You can, but there'll be a much higher cost when it comes to that. So whatever it is you want to do in the side hustle, in the side career, make sure you ask all those questions, and then wonder what benefits do I want from this? Is peace of mind, creative freedom. Do I want to move away from my career and have a more independent career going forward? Again, don't forget, there's not being your own boss isn't always what you may think it's out to be. It's a lot harder. You will work harder being your own boss than you would as an employee. Generally, it's how we say things, but it's not necessarily the easiest when everything relies on you and you got to make all the decisions. And you're doing this side hustle to start. You're solo. You got to make sure that it's well established. It gets a good base, and then it's scalable from there. If you want to become a little bit more career independent. But when we think about things like even just flipping this, if we can turn this into $250 to $500 a month more, if we look at our budget, we were talking about like things like that. We budget $1,000 for a family of 4 for food. If I can generate with 10 extra hours of work, $500 a month more, that's half my food budget extra every single month that we have to play with. We could put that in investing. We could put that into things that happen with a new car. We got to get a newer car. Now we want to pay off that car faster, so then we can use that 500. So don't underestimate, what even small amounts when you're getting started. Oh, I'm only making $100, $200 a month. That could be a huge difference at the end of the year with how you feel financially and what your financial goals are.
Here, why don't we show one of them in the camera so that now you can sell it for $1,000?
Yeah, $1,000 signed. I'll sign it. We'll sign it.
Because
we'll sign it.
It previewed on one of the greatest podcasts in the world.
There you go. The podcast has started the current boyfriend trend. We can get it too. Here it goes.
I want my senior
citizens discount
right friggin'
now. So we bought these. We bought 20 of these. They're called biddies. We bought 20 of these to give everybody an idea.
This one's going for $1,000.
The cleanest next to me. There you go. See, there's a bunch here. So there's a bunch on things. Here's some other things that we bought that I'm still prepping. Yeah, $1,000 signed by the hosts of the 2040 Vision podcast. That will be priceless in 10 years from now. So definitely a good investment.
Whoever's lucky hands that ends up in, you can eventually sell for $1 million.
So we bought we paid $80 for all 20 of them, and we sold 7 already for that price. So we sold 7. Some of them had chips and some imperfections after looking a little bit closer. Sometimes you're at these sales and that's the one thing is make sure you're kind of looking at the item really, really well. Because you get back home, you start looking at it, you go, oh man, this is chipped. Oh man, this piece is broken. Things that you wouldn't have necessarily noticed. Also, you'll notice things are missing and broken when you're researching the value, because you'll see like a brand new version of it and go, oh, this guy's supposed to be holding something in his hand or something like that, like that you didn't know. And that's the learning process. So learning how to get better at doing all of that. And like we said, if nothing else, give it a try. And if nothing else, you're going to learn skills you didn't have before, which can only make you better and help you grow as a person and your family. Grow as a person. So we're at that time. Tools, tips, things we could do to help push this particular subject along. If you want, I have the book. I won't be able to get it because it's behind there. But the book that we are recommending today, it's called The $100 Startup, and it is. I don't have it, but it's a great book. It's a great book that will give you lots of ideas, low cost startup, how to make sure that you're planning this side hustle properly, giving yourself the right base and all of that.
I'm writing it down in my notes app under books to read.
I have it here and I'm going to give it to you. It's right there. Hang on.
Doing an evening shift, so I'm definitely starting.
Okay,
starting
so
somewhere.
you're the lucky winner. You'll be going home with this Times bestseller. So the $100 startup. I read this book a little while ago, long while ago actually. This been on my shelf for a little bit, by Chris Gilbo. Um, really cool book on how to start looking at side hustles and things like that. It's a good read. It's not going to give you like, oh, here's a business in a box. That's not the point of it. But it's a really good read. And side note to that, I listened to, shout out to another podcast here, and we'll link the podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, we'll link it in our thing. But I listened to a podcast called The Side Hustle Show. So if you research it, it's called The Side Hustle Show. The host is Nick Lauper, and he has guests on every week, and they talk about how they became successful in their side hustles. If you're really into side hustles and stuff, I listen to this guy while I cut the grass. A little bit harder to read there, but we'll link it up, and maybe I'll get fancy with the editing, and I'll start shooting up things as we talk about them.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, we'll start
Yeah.
shooting up. So I'll put the Side Hustle Show in a link.
A picture of my espresso
below.
martini.
Yeah,
picture.
I had already thought of it. I'm going to do it. We're going to put a picture of the espresso martini up as we talk about it. So we're going to get even more fancy and learn more things about our side hustle. But yeah, if you're really into side hustles and stuff like that, a lot of this again is American, but he really, like, this episode from an idea to a six-figure side hustle. So they had two people on where they erased $115,000 of debt in 23 months using their side hustle, and they talk about how they built that business and what the business model is and all of that, and it gives you ideas and things you could potentially do. So it's really cool, and you hear stories of everyday people that became successful doing exactly this thing, the side hustle side of the world. We got a few tools that we talked about during the episode too. There's some written down. Notion is one of them. Canva is another one.
So Canva is the one I'm going to be using very soon.
Yeah, my suggestion is be careful when it comes to all these tools. The cost of tools can go really high, really quick. Do your research. If you're going to be reselling, we created an eBay store. eBay doesn't take a dime until your item sells, which is phenomenal.
Do your research before reselling. Make sure that it's actually selling for more, and make sure that the thing that you're buying is the version of that you see online that is selling for a lot more. The same year that it was created, the same, everything. Make sure that it's in good condition. Do your research. Not every shoe is going to sell for more. No. Not every figurine is going to sell for more. So you got to look things up. Everything you do in life is gonna become homework.
I bought these baby shoes on a whim. Again, everything was $1 here, so I took a little chance. I looked inside. It said leather. It said made in France, or Minibel France is the brand. I was like, oh, these look good. They kind of look like they're meant to be worn down. When I saw pictures of first of all, I couldn't find those exact ones anywhere. And then I started looking a little bit closer, and I noticed there was more wear and stuff like that. You're going to make mistakes in what you do. That's $1 loss there. Now it's $1. It's fine. But if I took, I tried to flip a car at $5,000, well, maybe that loss would not, if I make a mistake doing that and I didn't check the mechanics 100% and I wasn't 100% sure of what I was buying, you want to minimize how much loss you're going to take. You are going to make mistakes, and that's cool because you're going to learn from the mistakes. I now know I really got to check on the inside of shoes, and I got to make sure that the item I'm buying actually is out there and there's comparables, and it's something that people want. It's tougher to do on the go when you're in a garage sale setting and or a yard sale setting and you're trying to buy things on the go. But definitely if you're going to be reselling any kind of item, especially collectibles, like she was doing the shoes, make sure you're doing your research on that. And again, tools, Etsy, eBay, any kind of Whatnot, Poshmark. They all have their ups, their advantages. They all have their disadvantages. They all have their costing. It's not free to do business on these websites.
What's the other one you said before? Something with an F5?
Fiverr? Fiverr's for services. So if I wanted to be a consultant to businesses and offer that on a platform, I could do that through Fiverr.
Oh, okay.
Graphic design is done through Fiverr.
Okay.
Somebody who's going to write your homework can be done through Fiverr. Things like that. So it's more of like a service type platform where you're going out and you're seeking service type purchases. Whereas Etsy is more of like a creative type. So you're going on there to find things that people have bought or digital assets.
And people that really want to support local businesses and smaller businesses.
Exactly. And the challenge this week.
Spend 30 minutes this week brainstorming what lights you up and could bring value to others.
So the challenge is thrown out to those who are obviously interested. And if you listen to this whole episode, it's probably something that you're interested in. But obviously, if this is something that interests you, you want to start a side hustle, you want to start a passion project, the first step is to sit back and go, okay, what do I love? What's my passions? What's my likes? What's my dislikes? What I definitely don't want to do? And then how can I take that and begin to bring value to others? We'll give you an example. We are passionate about growing as people. No matter what age we are, we're passionate about growing as people. How can we potentially take that, turn that into value for others? Hey, why don't we start a podcast? Podcasting is not for everybody. Do we like being in front of the camera? I always did. I think she's learned to like it and doing all that. Is it natural to speak to a microphone and all of that? Not at the beginning.
Not at the beginning.
But eventually this becomes like a second extension of your hand and you're really not even focusing on the fact that there's a microphone. So how can you bring that value to others? And how can you make it work for you? Good luck on that challenge. That's going to be a really cool challenge. So for now, on the 2040 Vision, the current hosts of the 2040 Vision podcast, we are wishing you a great day.
And good luck on your adventures.
And good luck on your adventures. Ta-ta.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.